let's discuss the labor market and what are the trends we're seeing in the labor market, or what is the trend that we have seen in the last 15, 16 years. And it is that the labor market is not working for the people. Wages in the United States have not increased in many, many years. We have to participate more. We need to get involved more in what is happening in the labor market, because only our involvement, only when we speak our needs to our employers, we can get better and we can live better life circumstances. Right now, there are in Washington many interests against increase of wages. We do not have the power, the money, or the legal representation in Washington to make an increase in wages happen. And there are many, many, many powerful employers, companies, businesses that do not want this to happen. And they are influencing lawmakers in Washington to ensure that wages do not increase. We do not have the manpower and the resources to be in Washington fighting for our rights. So where is the only place where we can do this? At our jobs. Each one of us individually, independently, personally, we need to fight for our rights. Right now, you may have felt what inflation and all this economic conundrum since COVID happened, it has done to us. Electricity has increased almost 30–40%. Water has increased. Even the pickup of garbage has increased. Condominium associations have increased. Maintenance, assessment are being placed on people almost every 3 or 4 months. Everything has increased. What has not increased? Our salaries. Most everyone's salaries are there at still pre-inflation. And the suffering every day and the stress of not making it to the end of the month is heavily weighing in our shoulders. And it shows on how people are behaving at home, outside. It's showing in the amount of people that are now on the streets asking for money. In every corner, you see a person asking for money. The increase and incidence of young people in their 40s and 50s now homeless, it's unbelievable. Because you only need to go 2 or 3 weeks without a proper pay to cover your bills, to cover your necessities, to cover medical expenses, food, shelter, to all of a sudden snap out of your mind. But we don't need to the point of snapping out of our minds. We just need to sit down with our employers and ask them for what is rightfully ours. It is our right to be increased our salaries according to the problems and the times with the economy. It is very easy for an employer of 200, 300, 500 people, instead of compensating properly their employees to go and open another big store in another state. That use of capital resources is not being put in the capital force. It's being put to make more and more and more billions. And then they have lots of people working for them at a meager salary, $8, $9, $10, even $15 is a meager salary these days. When you have a family, even if you're just one individual, because you also need, one individual needs a roof. 4 or 5 people under a family also need a roof and a bigger one. So we are all facing the same needs, even as individuals or families. Don't believe your voice is not important, because one voice plus another one makes 1,000 people, 2,000 people, 3,000 people asking for the rights. And all of a sudden, even in Washington, they will have to change the wage. They will have to increase the wage nationally. But if they see us with our hands tied, just suffering, crying, and not asking for what is ours, they continue believing us. They continue seeing us as just slaves of the market, of labor. There is not much difference between a slave in the time of slavery than today. We are being treated the same if we are not being properly compensated. Then they may say, well, I'm giving health insurance. No, but many times that health insurance is too costly as well. And you're making people also pay a premium, a part of the premium. And you're required by law to do that. Employers, after a certain amount of employees, are required to pay health insurance, and they're making employees pay for part of the premium, because they can get away with many things with money. We cannot get away with anything. The only thing we can do is fight for our rights. And for employers out there, if you believe having an employee worried, suffering, not knowing what to do the next day, not knowing what to feed their children the next day, that person cannot be at the greatest capacity they can be. They cannot be the employee you want them to be. And they won't be, because they have no motivation to work for you. They're just there the same as you have them there. Your interest to have them there, because you know they come and go, they are replaceable, that's the same interest. Because the interest as an employer that you show to an employee, it shows what type of interest you have to keep them there. So turnaround is very easy. But what is happening is that employers are not understanding that keeping their employees in the right position when it comes to salary, it's more profit for them, because that employee is going to work harder, is going to be motivated, is going to want to come in the morning and be appreciative and do the work they need to do for this employer that is taking care of them. But for a few small business owners, this is not happening. This catering to the employee as a person, as a human being, as a family, a member or holder of a family is no longer there with big companies. Only small employers are doing their efforts to compensate properly employees. Then don't forget, people are in Washington lobbying behind our backs and legally, so that these wages do not increase at the national level. Because then they won't be able to open the next store in another place, the next business in another place. Ask for what is your right. Ask for proper compensation, proper salary, proper wages. Because when we all do this, employers are going to start seeing the value of an employee the way they need to see it. Because they cannot operate without our presence there. They may operate at a very small scale, but they won't be able to make billions and billions. But what is happening is that they are no longer, wanting to just make a few millions. They want to make billions out of their employees' misery and suffering. They're not seeing employees as human beings anymore. Employees are just a means for them to go up in their billions, and this should not be happening. But the government has no saying in that. There's so many departments and so many, regulations when you want to start a business, when you want to do this, do that. But once certain employers or companies get to a certain point, they're not even supervised. No one comes and ask them for their profit and losses book and be like, how are you compensating your employees? Because if you're running a business on slavery, it should not be happening. Not in this century. Slavery happened a long time ago, and we're still talking about it. But we do not talk about our problems now from the same point of view. Because using a human being to make billions when you could make millions and everybody else is properly compensated is also slavery. But at that level, there are no audits. No one comes and asks them, how much are you spending on your billions and how much are you spending on capital force? Those are flaws of the capitalistic system that will continue to be there. But we also, as employees, as human beings, as persons, as individuals, we have rights to sit and to demand what is rightfully ours. Fight for your rights. Because when everybody is doing the same and involved in the same way, little by little, everybody is gonna be properly compensated. And employees are not gonna longer see you just like a means for empowering themselves. Then, if you're an employer, compensate properly your employees. Because going after billions and overpassing people's lives is not the way to go about this. And there should be more regulations about that. And if you're an employee, fight for your rights. Sit, ask what is yours. You show up every day. You work every day. You do your best every day. You should be compensated properly. So that at the end, everybody begins to feel less pressure from the external circumstances. We all need electricity, we all need water, we all need a roof, we all need to maintain our families. Not only rich people can or have the rights to do that, we have the rights to do that too. And we have the right to speak and to ask at any level. If it doesn't work in your employment, find a way to do it. There is always a way.